Hello, in this video I will continue with my critique of uh, Andy Edwards in one of his recent, well, he has so many videos, but one that caught my interest because there was substantial overlap, and at the same time I found some of the characteristics that he seemed to be unaware, which is the an aesthetic that he presents as universal as it is not. In fact, agreeing on musical taste is something that's not universal. In fact, recent research, and that's another issue that we won't cover today, has a minimum of universals regarding rhythm, voice, or call and response. But other than that, we cannot claim that the music emerging from the dominant powers in the last 5 centuries, say Europe, UK, which ended at the very least mid 20th century, although it seems that many still are unaware of that, and even North America. So that being said, my key message is we have to be open to aesthetics of other parts of the world that can be as valid, including musicality and that complexity. And that's something that maybe it's a critic of Rick Beato is not the key element to value music. And at the end of the day, there is a lot of subjectivity in it, and it cannot be avoided. As in general, art has a lot of subjectivity. Let's say the same person can like different things even in the same day that are contradictory, or like more one style that's simpler at one point, being able to appreciate a lot of complexity in another. If contradictions occur at the level of individual, imagine making claims about ranks that pretend to be universal. So that being said, um, his double albums, as I remember, included a good number of well-known artists, starting with something like I'm sorry. There was some uh, mm, double albums by uh, yes, one's called Cardiacs that frankly I'd never heard about that group. Uh, More than one were British as usual. That's totally unavoidable. And um, ending with Electric Ladyland with Jimi Hendrix, and the songs in the Key of Life by Stevie Wonder. A safe, a safe choice actually, the last one. And put Beaches Brew by Miles Davis uh, behind the Beatles' White Album. Mm, Miles Davis Beaches Brew behind the Beatles' White Album. Helter Skelter. Uh, Frankly, I don't agree with that. Not in a million years. Not if it's the last thing I would say leaving this earth, with a with a gun pointing to my head, what do you prefer? The Beatles' White Albums with the solo by Eric Clapton on My Guitar Generally Weeps, or Beaches Blue, Spanish Key, Most Runs the Voodoo Down, Flowers Dance. Uh, to me, it's like two different dimensions, things that cannot be compared. Anyway, what would be my own take? Uh, Going above these examples and Bob Dylan's double album, I think it's important to show the diversity, and that's my point. Even if we have been exposed to similar type of music, although I abandoned progressive rock once I heard the first electric jazz album that had Larry Coryell with an incredible solo. It was, I think, with Herbie Mann. I concur with him that yes, Larry Coryell is the first proper fusion guitarist. But John McLaughlin was so powerful when he got into the scene, so influential, so technically amazing, that made his very personal and unique style of mixing Indian music with Jimi Hendrix and jazz the norm, and others trying to copy that. But after John McLaughlin, what came was the logic succession to Larry Coryell. And here I'm talking about Mike Stern and John Scofield in particular. So, uh, and other guitar players that mixed post Hendrix sound and style with bebop. So that's only tells us how influential was John McLaughlin when he came with his own group after Miles Davis famously he told him he was ready to have his own group, and McLaughlin took that very seriously, and we all benefited from that definitely. So for me, what would I have? Definitely starting at 10, and that's in opposition to uh, Andy. Exile on Main Street. Well, yeah, the Rolling Stones. I never cared for the Beatles that much. I thought the Rolling Stones were R&B, but they did something different. If one listens to Jumping Jack Flash, I think that's proper rock. There is something there that rock and roll doesn't have, especially in the chorus. Something that has to be connected with endorphins in our brain. It's very hedonistic. It's not just hard. And the Rolling Stones tapped into that with their rock. And I think the original Jumping Jack Flash is the best example. Although there is a good version in Get Years Out, even if other songs were better covered there. I'm thinking about Sympathy for the Devil and the solo by Mick Taylor after the spontaneous, less technical solo by Keith Richards. So after that, I would place For example, weather report 8:30. It's a pity that Jaco didn't have a proper double album with word of mouth, because probably I would put it here. Probably I don't know enough about Zappa. I stopped listening to him once I turned more into jazz, uh, but uh, he could be there. I would place Sondra, for example, the the two volumes of and two. Then Pharaoh Sanders, number 7, with Promises, that mix of electronic and his own style that he did in 2021. All, um, let's say, Medeski and Wood, or some modern electric jazz of that period. I think they have more than one double album. I cannot remember exactly the name. And after we get to number 5, for me, it's Miles All the Way. And there I would have, well, in fact, there are enough doubles albums by Miles that I would have Miles from 10 to 1. But let's say I would put the live albums in the number 5, including In Concert, Agartha, Pangaea, Fillmore East, and We Want Miles, this fantastic return uh, record that he did with Mike Stern, who, in my opinion, and that's something that I share with Andy, I think the rock edge that he had with Miles was lost, even if it's a huge guitar player. He had a dynamics and an aggressivity in his sound that was a mix of rock, blues, and jazz that it's unbelievable in these records. Of course, in the first famous solo of Fat Time, and in the blues, the second solo of the blues in Star People, which is something that just talking about that solo is sufficient to spend a full hour, in my opinion. And then we have, in descending order, but all really to me are the same. For Duke, where it has a variety of styles, from honky tonk to red china blues to the band of Pangaea with Reggie Lucas, free blues type of playing, the mood of He Loved Him Madly, Maisha with its electric Brazilian influences, um, is a unique and extremely original period. And after that, I would include Live Evil, the one that followed Beaches Brew with John McLaughlin, the great Hermeto Pascoal from Brazil again, and a band that include Gary Bartz, the Baltimorean saxo, who sounds his sounds is uh, very enticing to me, almost like a tenor, with full of blues and passion in these live records. And I think Keith Jarrett was still there. And even if he sometimes put down his role in that band, I think he was fitting perfectly with his uh, very original way of playing electric piano, very much like if he was playing a regular piano sometimes. Miles Davis used to to make fun of him, saying that he sounded like a Catholic schoolboy or something like that. But frankly, one has to hear the beginning of what you say, and wow, with the sound of Mike Henderson behind him, it has a powerful punch that only could be enhanced by the trumpet of Miles Davis entering after a few minutes of Keith Jarrett's solo. Keith Jarrett seems like he wants to leave the constraint of M- Henderson's bass, and it's that stays in the same rhythm and even the same notes. And he seems to be playing the piano in every way possible to create something rich that helps him escape that constant background. Well, that's very subjective. Anyway, I would suggest to listen to Live Evil. And then in the last two, I would have Big Fun, where McLaughlin, in a famous title named after him, Go Ahead John, takes Jimi Hendrix to another level with distortion, with wah, with um, dynamics in which the sound of his guitar gets muted, very distorted, and then comes back with a very high volume. To me, it's one of the best solos of McLaughlin's career, no doubt. And he has never done something similar in my point of view. Also, there are in this record, the trumpet is recorded twice, one on top of each other, and Jack DeJohnette as well. I forgot to say that Jack DeJohnette in Live Evil is unbelievable. At the end, there is a poet that is reciting in Live Evil, and the background is all this, I would say, noisy but dense and intense and uh, extremely full of life, drumming by Jack DeJohnette that makes it unique. And in Big Fun, he plays two drums, one on top of each other. And the way he's playing with himself is also something uniquely um, um, brilliant in the sphere of what we call jazz rock or jazz fusion. And what can I say? There are other gems in Big Fun as well, with the band of Beaches Brew. And Beaches Brew I would place as the number one because, well, this is historical reason. Somebody who's not from my generation would not have been as affected by this record as I was. For me, it was the record that made me the biggest impact ever. The collective improvisation that's electric, the several piano players. Chick Corea is brilliant there, and I think Zawino, they both played together without getting on each other's, like in call and response, especially in Spanish key, and they play with a background of percussion and drums that's very light. It's pushing ahead, propelling the music, but without feeling heavy. It's a unique record that it seems almost impossible that so many people with different backgrounds and styles did something so brilliant without rehearsing. And as has been repeated, Miles Davis still plays long solos, especially in Miles Runs the Voodoo Down, and is the voice that directs these musicians at the peak of their creativity. So here is my list. You can see I'm not as affected by fusion and rock as Andy when it comes to what I appreciate the most. And I just would suggest that you you listen to these records, and you're the judge. And never forget that in India or China, there could be another type of music that's equally valid as ours. And I don't pretend that the music of this era or this place in the world who benefits from the imperial type of living, who we are privileged, and but the world is changing, and in a good way, in my opinion. But we still benefit from access to this incredible music that we can enjoy. And Miles, for me, was personality apart, was the pinnacle of the 20th century because of his change. He changed the music styles so many times. Even if he wasn't the first to do one style, he really uh, created it in the way he transformed some original ideas that might occur at the same time uh, in many places, a little bit like Picasso. That's why they were compared, right? So Miles transformed music 5 times at least, if not six. And uh, that's why I put his records in the top 5. Thank you for listening.